Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's start with the third part of baking applications. The topics we will study today are pastry, which includes pie crust and puff pastry, cookies, that will include bar cookies, roll cookies, drop cookies, pressed and refrigerator cookies. So let's begin. Pastry. It can be classified in two forms, pie crust and puff pastry. They both are simple baked products that contain few ingredients. They require some good skills in order to achieve successful results. It is always a challenge to make these pastries. Only expertise can make it a good pastry out of it. It basically includes the technique that matters more and your skill than merely the learning. Pie crust is made with fat, flour, salt, and water. Same products are used for puff pastry, but difference in these two forms of pastry is due to the kind of fat used. So, if the kind of fat is changed, the type of the product can be changed also. Fat that used is selected for making puff pastry is butter, and it is used in a flour to fat ratio on a volume basis that is 2:1. While for the pastries, for pies, it is made with shortening. Sometimes oil or butter is also used. Fats are measured by volume when pastry is prepared in the home. But when the same volume is measured carefully, there is some difference in the amount of fat that is used. So, a cup of butter or margarine cannot be used with a cup of any other fat or shortening in making pastry because butter contains 80% fat and 16% of water. Oil flow readily when added to the pastry mixture, which makes it possible to use 4:1 ratio when making an oil-containing pastry. Puff pastry. Portion of fat is used in the first step for the preparation of stiff dough. Dough is then chilled. Chilling helps to increase the hydration of the gluten. Dough is then folded to cover the butter, and then this rectangle is folded into thirds before being chilled. After it is chilled, dough is again rolled and folded, but this time no butter is added. This process is repeated for 3 times. Finally, dough is baked. Oven heat generates the necessary steam from the water in the batter and in dough to force apart the layers. Cookies. The type of cookies may include bar, drop, rolled, pressed, and refrigerator cookies. What are the characteristics of these cookies? Bar cookies have comparatively high content of liquid, which results in a batter that can be poured into a baking pan, while drop cookies have less liquid, which creates a slightly sticky dough that can be dropped onto a cookie sheet and retain its general shape during baking. Rolled, pressed, and refrigerator cookies dough are rich enough to stick together when the flour, liquid, and other ingredients are mixed together. Yet the dough is so stiff that it can be manipulated without sticking to the pastry board, hand, press, or cutters. Role of ingredients and cookies. Fats. The type of fat used has a significant effect on texture, shape, and color of cookies. Butter gives more pleasing flavor and they cause cookies to spread due to low melting point, while shortening due to high melting point doesn't expand the cookie much. Sugar. Granulated sugar is particularly useful in creating the desired texture in baked cookies because the relatively coarse crystal help to dig many tiny pockets in their shortening when these ingredients are being creamed. So honey and brown sugar also gives distinctive flavors, but the texture is not that desirable. Flour. Flour that has been treated with bleaching and maturing agent is useful in cookies to promote starch gelatinization. It is one of the main ingredient of any cookie. Liquid. The very limited amount of liquid in cookies, often only the liquid from eggs, means that only limited starch gelatinization can occur during baking. But this change does contribute to the desirable texture of cookies. Eggs also contribute by helping to emulsify the dough. Leavening agents. Some leavening always occurs during baking because of air and steam. We do not add much leavening agents in the cookies because the ingredient itself work as a leavening agent. Although baking powder can be used as a leavening agent for some selected cookies. Usually, at least a small amount of chemical leavening is added, a very small amount as compared to other baked products.